ways that you can engage with the project online. And the soundscape's going to be mixed live with producers across Europe, North America, and the Asia Pacific. I'll be mixing the Asia Pacific streams from the Sunshine Coast. And we've got about 15 streams running across Australia. So on the Sunshine Coast, we've got the Rainforest Canopy at Mary Cairncross, hydrophones in the Maroochy River, and also the Noosa Biosphere Reserve. And the 4 sound artists and researchers that I've invited to join us today are also hosting streams. So I'm just going to hand you over to each of those individually and get them to introduce their practice, the location that they're coming from, and to give you a little bit of a taste of the stream that they will be featuring during Reveille. So we might start off with Andrew Skeoch, who is a board member of the Australian Forum for Acoustic Ecology, president of the Australian Wildlife Sound Recording Group, and one of Australia's leading wildlife field recorders. So if any of you have ever picked up one of those incredible albums from a national park or heard some of the beautiful soundscapes from across Australia, many of those have been recorded by Andrew over the last 25 years. So we're lucky to have Andrew joining us today from his incredible property in Victoria. Over to you, Andrew.
Thanks very much, Leah, and hello, everyone. Yes, it feels like a long time ago that I started doing sound recording and learning that not only how to make good recordings, but to actually listen to nature. And this weekend will be the first time that I'm actually live streaming. You've been inviting me in many years, Leah, and I'm finally getting my technology organized to do it. So, yes, I live in central Victoria, and we're very privileged to have land here, about 115 acres of really healthy native woodland. It's box ironbark forest, so dry eucalypt woodland. And sunrise here is around about 7 o'clock in the morning, so I'll be putting the microphones out and running the signal back in and just see what we get. I must admit, today is really cold. It feels like, as I said, Antarctica is just over there somewhere. And it's been raining the last 3 days. There's been hardly any bird song, and the birds that I have seen have been kind of all fluffed up and trying to keep themselves warm. So what we're going to get over the weekend, I don't know. But nevertheless, we can give it a go. I mean, even, well, it's interesting, just this, the fact that nature in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, is just blooming with birdsong at the moment. But we're kind of in our fallow time. And once it gets to around about February, March, the dawn chorus simply doesn't exist. I think there might be a few honeyeaters piping, and then it goes very silent for about the next hour to an hour and a half before the sun comes up, and then the birds might start getting active. But it's a very quiet time of year overnight and in that early morning time. The situation with the corona has, I was really intrigued to see what would happen in terms of the soundscape here. I watched as the air traffic diminished, and then almost stopped, with the exception of private air traffic. But the international stuff, we've got a flight path that goes between Melbourne and Darwin and all points north, Singapore and Bangkok and so on. And it passes about maybe 10 kilometers to our northeast. So I'm just, in the 20 years that we've lived here, I'm used to a steady stream of aircraft just coming and going. And it's just gone, the skies have gone empty. It's really quite extraordinary. However, the traffic and, as I said, the light air traffic is still, I haven't noticed a big diminishment in that. So it's been interesting how selective the changes in the soundscape have been. And of course, at this time of the year, cool, humid mornings, sound travels for quite a distance. So I'm still noticing it.
Wonderful.
So anyway,
thank you, Andrew.
Till the morning, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's a really nice insight into what's happening in your local stream. I mean, I'm sure some people have some questions for Andrew, but if it's all right, we might save questions to the end and move along to Jessie. Jessie Bedell, a fantastic Australian composer who's also on the board of the Australian Forum for Acoustic Ecology and the World Forum for Acoustic Ecology. Jessie completed an incredible PhD a couple of years ago now, 2 years ago, which was really unpacking some of the intersections between acoustic ecology and the field of ecoacoustics. So a very active composer, but someone who's also very much unpacking some of the research ideas in this space as well. Over to you, Jessie.
Cool. Thanks, Leah. I'm a composer and sound artist, and I come to you today from Ghana country, in the Adelaide Hills, but spent quite a lot of my childhood in regional South Australia, particularly Ngarrindjeri country in Murray Bridge. In terms of how my local soundscape is behaving at the moment, I notice each morning that the traffic din, I live quite close to a train line and then a main thoroughfare which leads down to the city, that it's a lot quieter, and maybe it's just me, but there's a lot more active bird life, particularly little groups of kookaburras chorusing almost every day, which was not something that I noticed before. That coupled with the fact that we're in a valley creates a really lovely resonant chamber that without the urban din has made for some lovely sunrises at the moment. In terms of the streams that I'm putting into Reveille, the three that I think I would just put two on there, but they come from a project that I did down in the Limestone Coast in Boandik country in South Australia's southeast. And that particular project was or came about as a result of an artist residency with Country Arts SA and the Mount Gambier Council. And what I was interested in is doing multiple live streams as part of an installation. Typically when you've got multiple live streams, they're all on a horizontal plane. So you might have particular microphones set up at one particular site or even different sites, but they're all horizontal. Whereas in the Limestone Coast, it's quite noted for having lots of caves, particularly the Narracourt Caves National Park and Tantanoola Caves. So I was interested in what if we have multiple live streams, but instead they're vertical, and it's sort of considering the different geological strata and the soundscapes that each of them offers. So the microphone streams, the two that are there, one is from the subterranean bat cave at the Narracourt Caves National Park. I'm piggybacking off of microphone infrastructure that the park already has set up there. And then I also have my own mic set up above ground, the one that I chose being from the tree canopy there. So you're hearing both potentially in real time, both the subterranean and the canopy soundscapes. In terms of then how those streams are treated in the installation format, there is a separate speaker array that's also vertical at the Sir Robert Helpman Theatre in Mount Gambier, and there's speakers corresponding to the microphone positions, speakers on the ground level, mezzanine level and rooftop. So they're all kind of being mixed in real time, responding to bomb weather data. So depending on a variety of factors, whether it's the direction of the wind or temperature or air humidity, that's all mixing and live processing that soundscape there. The ones that will be heard as part of Reveille are not being treated at all, but yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to kind of know what is one potential outcome of hearing those streams.
Amazing. Thank you, Jessie. And, you know, your streams are such fascinating ones to listen to at any time of the day as well. We were doing some tech tests in London last night, and it was really quite amazing to weave in your cave streams with the canopy streams at Mary Cane Cross and some of the wetland streams as well, and to hear some of the similarities in the soundscapes as well, particularly a lot of the bat sounds just sort of below that ultrasonic range which were coming through in all the streams. So everyone in London was very excited about that last night. All right, we might quickly move on to Nicole and Tristan now. So Nicole Carroll's joining us from Newcastle, and we're claiming Nicole as a Australian sound artist now because she has recently moved to Australia to take up a position as lecturer in digital composition at the University of Newcastle. But Nicole spent a significant amount of time in Australia recording Australian soundscapes, as well as also a board member of the Australian Wildlife Sound Recording Group, and works with the AFAE as well, and has been involved in Reveille for 3 years now, I believe. Over to you, Nicole.
Yep. Well, I think you just said everything. So I'm it's all right. I am a composer and performer and instrument designer and builder. Most of my work in acoustic ecology is focused on aquatic ecosystems. And I guess that's maybe since 2014, since I moved to a place where it's actually near the water, coming from inland in the United States, where water was an adventure. You had to take a trip. Once I moved to a river city, it was like, here's water. I can listen to the water all the time. So as a focus for my composition and performances, I'm really looking for noisy sources. And of course, our snapping shrimp are an incredible source for noise, but also motors. So a lot of my recording focus is collecting motor sounds. And it's a little bit of a disconnect because we know it's noise pollution, but it's also really a beautiful sound when the motors are resonating underwater. And so it's a little bit of a hard thing to reconcile, but I'm actually enjoy the boat noises, which is what we're not hearing now. So I will be streaming from the Thorsby Creek, which is just 5 minutes from my apartment. It's just a little inlet from the Hunter River. And basically this is the yacht strip. And it's just across from a row club and a boat ramp. And when I moved here just at the end of January, there was still a lot of recreational activity, jet skis and rowers and that sort of thing, and they aren't there anymore. So now I'm just hearing shrimp and fish and no more motors, and I guess that's okay. That's okay. And on the stream, I will be sharing my my Thorsby Creek like go-to spot. Like that's my daily walk, and hopefully there will still be no jet skis. I don't think anybody will be out at 6:30 in the morning on the water besides me, so it'll just be me, the shrimp, and everybody that's listening. So I will be streaming from 2 hydrophones. My typical mobile streaming kit is just my iPhone, my Zoom H6, and 2 Aquarian hydrophones, and that's it. No processing, just the shrimp. And I think
Excellent.
that's it.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, brilliant. I'm really looking forward to your stream. I mean, I think it's always quite fascinating when we talk about dawn chorus. People always associate dawn chorus with that awakening of birds and that sort of stereotypical dawn chorus. But I mean, when we think about all of these other ecosystems across the planet, particularly aquatic ecosystems, as Nicole's just described, I mean, every day there's a dawn chorus of fish and snapping shrimp on the Great Barrier Reef. And it's the same with every river system. So we'll experience a similar dawn chorus in the Maroochy River as the sun rises as well, with a similar hydrophone setup to Nicole's. Thanks, Nicole. All right, we will head over to Tristan, lucky last, to give us a brief summary of his practice and the work he's doing in South Australia. Like everyone else that's with us today, Tristan is an incredible sound artist and has been really pushing what's possible with online sound mapping. I've been following his work for many years that he's been doing, recording different soundscapes in the locations where he lives, and he's also an active board member of the Australian Forum for Acoustic Ecology as well. Over to you, Tristan.
Thank you, Leah. I'm coming to you from Kaurna country here in the Adelaide suburb of Parkside. probably about 2-3 kilometres from the CBD. It's one of Adelaide's characteristic leafy suburbs, festooned with many trees and lots of bird life and natural activity as well as anthropogenic activity. As far as my practice is concerned, I work predominantly as a sound artist, and a lot of my work over the last 5 to 6 years has been chiefly concerned with examining the tension, the inherent tension that exists in a localized setting between natural sounds and anthropogenic or human-made sound. So in that respect, life, sonic, acoustic life under the pandemic has been quite an extraordinary, unprecedented time to observe these inherent tensions between natural and human-made sound. Within my immediate location here in Parkside, I observed the change was quite sudden. Air traffic had dissipated. The peripheral hum of the rush hour along the main arterial roads had almost sort of, to use a poetic expression, sort of receded, much the way the tide would kind of recede out into the ocean, where it was still distinct to a certain extent, but it had seemed to clear off into the distance. I'd also, I don't know, lots of analogies come to mind. One was of living in the city here, of urban smog, and as if an anthropogenic sort of sonic smog had briefly cleared for a time. So a great opportunity to make recordings and observe these kind of things. As far as my contribution to Reveille goes, regrettably, at the last hurdle, technologies conspired against me. So I won't be hosting a stream, but I was in discussion with Leah, and she proposed that this short meeting here would be an excellent opportunity to, I guess, promote my sound map, the Fleurieu and Kangaroo Island sound map, which I've been facilitating since 2011. I'm originally from the Fleurieu. I grew up in the small coastal community of Normanville and Yankalilla, and I've still got quite a close attachment to the region. So having, I suppose, that background and intimate knowledge of the region, coupled with my practice as it is now, has given me an excellent ongoing project to keep running and learn a great deal from for what has nearly been 10 years or so. So in lieu of a Reveille stream, please hop onto Google and Google the Fleurieu sound map, or I should say Fleurieu and Kangaroo Island sound map.
Thanks so much, Tristan. We'll add the links to the sound map to the Arts Front Little Lunch page as well, so everyone can check it out from there. And I guess, your sound map is particularly powerful at the moment with some of your Kangaroo Island recordings, being able to listen to these rich sonic environments that were obviously dramatically affected by the last Australian fire season. So another, really powerful role of acoustic ecology in being able to really document this snapshot of these environments that are no longer there. So thank you so much for sharing that, Tristan. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Thanks everyone for sharing. It was maybe slightly ambitious for us to cover this much information in a 30-minute period, but I was determined that we were going to do it. So we've got about 5 minutes for questions. So if anyone wants to type questions in the chat, I can read them out, or you're welcome to turn your microphone on and ask the question. There's a question there from Christy. Beyond the changes to acoustics out in the world, what changes are you noticing in the way you work with equipment? I'm happy to answer that quickly, and maybe someone else wants to answer that as well. We're sort of in this challenging situation where we can't physically go out and do field work. So a lot of these locations that are streaming this weekend are from existing streams or streams that are very close to where we live, because obviously we don't want to go breaking any of the restrictions that we're under. I guess that's the biggest change in the equipment and the process is, you know, we're obviously having to adapt the way that we're actually recording and streaming quite significantly. But I mean, the incredible thing is there's many locations in different parts of the world that have been really active in this project for a number of years. So they're permanent live streams that we can tune into at any point in time. So I think it's another, you know, really powerful example of the way sound and these acoustic recordings and streams of environments can be used in a really non-invasive, accessible and affordable way to monitor changing environments. It's potentially, you know, one of the most powerful tools we have at the moment to have out there in these ecosystems observing these changes. And of course, you know, despite what's happening with COVID-19, I mean, it doesn't change the urgency of climate change and the dramatic damage that is happening in ecosystems across the planet, which we must continue monitoring and responding to. So sound is a really powerful way to do that. Does anyone else want to answer that question? Nicole, Andrew, Jesse, Tristan? There's a couple more questions in the chat as well. We've only got about 2 minutes left.
Well, I think I'm very lucky because I live 5 minutes from where I would usually be recording from anyways. But being new to Newcastle, I'm not doing a lot of exploring. So that's a bit of a downer, but yes, keeping it local. And I think this is a chance to just listen to the neighborhood and the neighbors because I do live in an apartment.
Excellent. Melissa from Arts Nexus had asked, what does the Great Barrier Reef sound like? Excellent question. So, I mean, the Great Barrier Reef sounds like a symphony of snapping shrimp and fish. One of the most common sounds is parrotfish chewing on coral, but you can also hear migrating humpback whales, which are just starting to make their way up the coastline at the moment, a little bit earlier than usual. So it's a really rich and diverse soundscape, and particularly when we talk about this idea of dawn chorus, you know, as the sun rises over the water and that water starts to heat up, you get this sort of magical soundscape of snapping shrimp, fish, and everything like that. Of course, you know, if we have coal ships going by, where have that contrast of a very dramatic soundscape where all of those other sounds are completely drowned out. And there's a lot of research happening around some of those implications at the moment as well. So unfortunately, I think we have ran out of time. We've got about 30 seconds left on my clock here. I just wanted to let you know as well that Monday is a public holiday. Next Monday is a public holiday. So there won't be a little lunch on Monday. The next little lunch will be on Tuesday, the 5th of May, and you can check out the Arts Front website to see the program and all the information for next week. Thank you again to Arts Front for hosting us today. Thank you to Nicole, Jesse, Tristan and Andrew for joining us. And I would encourage you all to jump on the Arts Front event for today and have a look at all those links that we shared. And please do listen to Reveille over the weekend and engage with these changing soundscapes across the planet. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, I've stopped the live stream and cloud recording.